Welcome back to another episode of the SOS Wellness Show, my friends. I am your host, Tess. That's just TES. And I'm just bringing you some love, bringing you some peace, positivity right here today. If you're listening to me in your car while you drive safe. If you're watching this video, how you doing? How you doing? Thank you for tuning back in for another episode. I appreciate each and every one of my supporters. I may not know who you are. I may not see you on a daily basis, but we family. Okay? I see you. I appreciate you. And I'm thankful that you are here on earth sharing this atmosphere with me. So if you're not already subscribed, if you haven't already shared this video with somebody, because you know I'm about to drop some game. I'm about to drop some game. So if you want somebody to have a positive mindset today, if you know somebody that's contemplating self love, if you know somebody who is struggling with getting out of bed, I want you to send this video to them because what I'm about to share today can be life changing. What I'm about to share today can save a life. And I don't want that to go over any of your friends, your family. And I don't want you to miss this message. So do that for me. Share it, like, subscribe. We are here. And be sure to comment. I want to hear from y'all. I want to make sure I hear from my people. I got to hear from my people. So make sure to comment below so I can understand what you receive from this video. So my friends, I'm going to be honest. Today has not really been one of my favorite days on earth, but we pushing. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast because I don't know if a lot of people get the impression that because I'm a speaker and I speak on positivity, mental health, leadership, and wellness, that nothing is ever wrong. And I don't want to give that impression that I'm perfect. I don't want to give the impression that I always have great days or exciting days. I'm always excited about everything. My friends, today was a really hard day for me. Honestly, the last 30 days of my life have been more challenging to me than any other month this year. And I feel like every year has that month, right? Where it's just like boom, 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 boom. And so that's what I'm going through right now, where it's just like, everybody calm down. You ever just have a moment where everybody gotta calm down? So I just wanted to hop on here and let you know that it's okay to not feel okay. It's okay to feel like you don't have direction. It's okay to feel like you don't know what's next. It's okay to feel uncertain. I'm honestly trying to embrace my relationship with uncertainty because even for me, I had to realize I'm always making fun of people who need control. But then I had to ask myself, Tess, if things don't go your way, how do you react? What's your attitude? What happens when things suddenly change? What happens when your plan doesn't work? And so right now I'm literally in this observation stage of myself, realizing that I have a lot of work to do. When I'm faced with uncertainty, I don't do so well. My self-talk is not the best. My my self-love meter is very low. So that's the point of this podcast is for us to be transparent about our feelings. This is called the SOS Wellness Podcast. In order for you to be well in the world, you have to be well in your heart. In order for you to be well in your family, you have to be well in your body. In order for you to be well at work in your career, you have to be well in your mind. In today's episode, I want to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that's literally emotional suicide. See, a lot of you may not know, but SOS stands for Success Over Suicide. I created this brand I'll say about 7 to 8 years ago when I got some very unfortunate news that my aunt, who pretty much raised me, was no longer here, that she took her own life. And ever since that day, I started to look at life differently. Ever since that day, I went on a journey, but every journey has a spiral. So I went on a very downward spiral, got into a lot of trouble, experienced a lot of violent relationships. I saw a quote that said, You all will never know how much violence I went through in order to be this gentle. So that's what happened in that mind in that time of my life. And my aunt had so much importance to my life because I was raised by a Jamaican father and a American mother. Shout out to the Grady babies out there. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. We in Decatur right now, east side of Atlanta. But my mom is from Atlanta, Georgia, and my dad is from Jamaica. Jamaica, yeah, man. Boom, boom. Yeah, we gonna get into it. Let me reel it back in. And so my aunt was on my dad's side. That's my dad's sister. And she was that aunt that if my parents said no, she was gonna say yes. If they denied me or if they didn't answer my question, I'd be like, Auntie Mel, can you can you tell me what this is? She would do that for me. Even as a woman, I was just this big. She'll be like, girl, you better watch it. You gonna get some hips one day. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And so she was that woman. She was that woman character in my life. She was one of the first feminine energy, very prominent women in my life. And when I was 18 years old, I was in college and I got news to come home immediately. I told my friends at the time it was a Friday. I said, friends, I'm gonna be back. Shawty, I'm coming. We from Atlanta, so we say Shawty. I said, look, Shawty, everybody calm down. I know it's Friday, but let me go run back to my house because I'm only 20 minutes from my college where I stay with my parents. Okay, cool. Let me go see what my mom wants. I'll be back in about an hour. My friends, once I got home, my mom, her palms were sweating, her knees were shaking. She could barely look at me because her eyes were covered in tears pouring down her face. I walked through the door. I saw my mom, the state that she was in. I said, Mama, sit down. She pulled out the chair. I'm looking at her. I'm like, breathe, Mom, breathe. And she told me that my aunt was no longer here. But see, my aunt didn't live with us, so I didn't know what that meant. I said, what do you mean she's no longer here? She doesn't live here. And that's when she told me that she took her own life. And I just want to give a moment of silence for my aunt. And I want to give a moment of silence for anybody that you may have lost to suicide. And I want to give a moment of silence to even maybe if you have suicidal thoughts. I want to give a moment of silence to that. Because we're here for a reason, not just a season. We're here for a reason. And if you're watching this right now, I want to send my condolences to anybody that you may have lost to suicide. Because you're never the same. I haven't been the same. It's been almost 10 years and I remember that day vividly. And if you're watching this right now, if you're battling with suicidal ideations, of course, everybody does not have the same solution. Some people have to be medically addressed. But for those of us who are battling with loving ourselves, for those of us who are battling with constantly thinking that we don't belong here, I want this message to be for you right here, right now. That there is no mistake that you were watching this. There is no mistake that you were still breathing. And no one can tell you your value other than you. You have to believe and feel your value every single day. You are not a mistake. You are worthy. You are here for a reason. The purpose is inside of you right now, is waiting to get out. And the more that you pay attention to who you are, not just what everybody else is doing, the more that you observe yourself, you learn yourself, you love yourself, you'll be able to get that blueprint to your success, that blueprint to your purpose. Because I feel like a lot of us are in this world living and doing the daily hustle in life. And some of us are okay with that. Some of us can get through it. But there are some of us where that daily hustle, the constant routine, that weighs us down. So I want you to know if you're battling with that, that means that your purpose is greater. That means that your purpose is going to get you to the freedom that you need to live the life that you were desired to have. A lot of us, of course, may feel like, oh, my life may not be in my hands, but no, you have a lot of control. You believe in the divine, whatever you believe in. Yes, I'm sure There is control from the divine, but I promise you, there's a lot of control that you have here on earth. And so if you're not where you want to be right now, I don't want you to blame it on anybody. And I don't even necessarily want you to blame it on yourself. I want you to acknowledge yourself. I want you to start seeing yourself. Not just like when you look in the mirror, but when you look in your eyes, what do you see? Are you able to feel what's in your heart? Do you have a constant connection with your heart and your mind? See, a lot of times we're so focused on building intimacy with other people, but I think it's important to have a beautiful connection between your heart and your mind. That connection that is unbreakable. And the more that you can trust that gut, the more that you can trust your intuition, the more you'll be able to get downloads and uploads for your next steps in life. And speaking of next steps, it made me realize, unfortunately, once I got the traumatic news that my aunt was no longer here, I started to dive into what happens with suicide. Like, what is this? And I started to look into maybe before the physical act of suicide, there is a different layer. I believe that one aspect, this is just one perspective, there's not just one answer. I just want to give that a disclaimer now. Um, with suicide, before it happens on a physical level, it can happen on a mental level and even on an emotional level. So some of us may be experiencing emotional suicide right now, where our feelings are constantly being suppressed, where we're ignoring our thoughts and letting other people's thoughts surface and allow those thoughts to run our lives. But see, I want us to start focusing on how are we handling our emotion? What comes up for us when we're angry? What comes up for us when we're sad? What comes up for us when we're lonely? The more that you can answer these questions, the more that you'll have the ability to, okay, catch yourself when you may be experiencing that emotional suicide, that emotional manipulation. Because even for me today, I was driving and I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're in the South. It's sort of kind of hurricane season. I'm not in Florida, but we're close. We're close enough to where when it's time for hurricanes, we get all the rain, we get the wind. I'm driving a nice day in September, pouring down rain. I'm on the way to the gym to get a nice workout in. Boom, rain. It's raining so bad that I start to go into this daze. I'm just, how you just driving sometimes. It's traffic. It was raining, a lot of rain. So it's a lot. You see just red lights everywhere because it's just traffic on the highway. And I got to a point where I just was in my mind, you just drive and you just sort of kind of you got to snap back into it to where I missed my exit. And there was a moment to where I started to call myself dumb. There was a moment to where I was like, how could you mess this up? There was a moment where I was just my self-talk was so negative that I had to catch myself. I literally had to turn the music off, turn everything. I had my phone playing music. I said, we got to address this. So I want you to understand, who are you in those moments? Who are you to yourself when you need somebody to be there for you? Who are you when you feel lonely? How do you show compassion to yourself when you feel lonely? How do you show compassion to yourself when you make a mistake? How do you show compassion to yourself when you're sad? See, we have to be our own best friend. Now, I'm an advocate. Make sure you check on your phone, your strong friends. Shout out to both of my best friends out there in the world. But outside of your external best friends, you have to be your top-notch best friend. What would you tell your best friend if they called you angry? What would you tell your best friend if they called you telling you that they were lonely? You got to become a friend to yourself, because guess what? If you're not a friend to yourself intentionally, you can accidentally become your enemy. And if you're your enemy, your own enemy, my friends, then you're going to always be in your way. And if you're in your way, then you will never be able to move past that in order to build a clear connection to your purpose, a clear connection to your freedom, a clear connection to your true, authentic self. So it's important to be intentional about being your friend, so therefore you don't accidentally become your enemy. And I want to share this quote with you, something that I had to tell myself today that helped me when I had my negative self-talk. Because I want you to do this, like, watch yourself, observe yourself. How do you talk to yourself when you mess up? How do you How do you respond to yourself when things don't go your way? How do you respond to yourself during moments of uncertainty? Because if you're not careful, instead of showing compassion to your emotion, you can slowly start to commit this like emotional suicide where you're suppressing your emotions. You're telling yourself you can't feel like that, or your self-talk is negative where it's like you better than that. You're supposed to know better. But it's like, listen, we all doing the best we can. I'm gonna say that one more time. We are all doing the best that we can. And I know sometimes it doesn't look like people aren't showing up in the capacity that you want. But if you can just understand that maybe with everything that's going on in their mind, this is the best that they can do right now. And so, one thing I want to share with you is that even though everything around you may seem broken, that does not mean that you are. Even though things don't seem like they're working around you, doesn't mean that you cannot work towards your dream. Even though it may not be a lot of love, a lot of positivity around you, does that mean that you cannot have that love and positivity inside of you? The more that you can see yourself and acknowledge your emotions and your mental state, the more I'm telling you, you'll be able to live the life that you want. Because just like me, I'm working to create the life that I want. I look at myself every day, and it's that gap between where I want to be and where I am. And a lot of us on that journey, we either get better or we get bitter. We either build or we destroy. We either love ourselves more or hate ourselves more. So as we're getting to this bridge of where we are versus where we want to be, let's be more intentional on becoming our friend. Let's be more intentional to make sure that we're showing compassion to all of our emotions. And we're aware when we're having that negative self-talk, which may contribute to that emotional suicide. My friends, I want you here. I know that you can succeed over the suicide, over your mental health, goals, and life, but that can only happen once you know who you are, love who you are, trust who you are, in order for you to be who you are. So that's the message for today, my friends. Being aware of that negative self-talk, acknowledging if you are experiencing that emotional suicide where you're trying to numb your emotions because you don't want to feel a certain way. That's the whole point of this podcast. I want to bring awareness to that darkness inside of us. I want to bring light to that dark. And if you know anything about darkness, darkness don't like when you talk about it. You ever see something in dark? It's like, you ever turn the light on when you're waking up? So the darkness doesn't want, it's going to be uncomfortable for you. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's going to be uncomfortable to listen to yourself, observe yourself, but it's okay. The more that you expose it, the more that you reveal it, because you can only heal once you acknowledge what's real. So acknowledging any pain, acknowledging any frustrations, acknowledging any feelings of self-doubt, it's okay. Because on the other side of discomfort is healing. On the other side of discomfort is transformation. On the other side of discomfort is the abundance to be who you were created to be. My friends, my name is Tess. I really appreciated your energy. I appreciate your essence and your existence in this world. And I never want you to think for a second that you don't belong here. Even if you have a thought that tells you that you don't, I want this video. I want my voice to remind you, tell that thought, get out of here. I belong here. I am worthy. And I will show myself compassion through each and every one of my emotions. And remember, just because everything may seem broken around you doesn't mean that you are. Till next time, my friends.